At Washington's National Portrait Gallery, all of America's presidents are immortalized. Father of his country, George Washington. The great emancipator, Abraham Lincoln. And Millard Fillmore. Okay, what's so funny? The name. Why does it make people laugh?
Because it's an odd name.
I think people chuckle at Millard. It's just a weird name.
It's the Millard more than the Fillmore.
I think so.
I think it's a combination. Fillmore, I mean, it sounds like a gasoline tank.
It sounds like a sack of potatoes. Does Millard Fillmore deserve to be remembered for more than having a silly name? The folks in his hometown of East Aurora, New York, just outside of Buffalo, certainly think so. Millard built this home for his bride Abigail in 1825.
This actually is called the honeymoon cottage.
Volunteer tour guide Kathy Frost.
It is the only house in the entire nation that is built and lived in by a president. No other home has that distinction.
Millard Fillmore built these floors. So we are walking on the same floor
As Millard did, as Abigail did.
even the kitchen table.
It's a great
table.
Yeah.
Where Millard Fillmore's actual teacup still sits. So Millard Fillmore's lips were on that teacup.
Yes.
Do you think that there's still DNA there?
I think so. I think it could be.
And then there's this one-of-a-kind presidential appliance. So was this Millard Fillmore's noodle roller?
No, I cannot tell you that that was Millard Fillmore's noodle roller.
But this is a period noodle roller that Millard Fillmore would have used.
That is correct.
Visitors to the Millard Fillmore house have come from 38 different states and beyond.
China, Korea, and Cuba.
Cuba? Someone escaped from Cuba just to see the Millard Fillmore house.
It was on his bucket list.
Modest though the house may be, it's a long way from Fillmore's first home, a tiny log cabin.
His cradle was actually a maple sap trough. Talk about humble, right?
So it was like a log, basically?
Yes,
A scooped out log?
Yes.
Wow. A loving husband, good with his hands, self-taught and self-made. But then there's his record as president. To appease the South before the Civil War, he signed the notorious Fugitive Slave Act into law, mandating that slaves who'd escaped to the North be forcibly returned to their owners. But in East Aurora, they'd rather look at the glass half Fillmored.
What he signed was the Compromise of 1850, which was a series of bills. One small bill in that compromise was the Fugitive Slave Act.
Are you spinning for Millard Fillmore? Are you a Fillmore apologist?
I'm a Fillmore groupie.
Has history been unfair to Millard Fillmore?
I believe it has.
Aurora historian Robert Goller. His chief accomplishments.
He lowered the price of the postage stamp.
Goller says Millard matters.
We hear about Lincoln and Lincoln and Lincoln, but Fillmore played just as much of a part in the nation's role in the Civil War as Lincoln did, just not as prominent.
So there he is.
There he is, Millard Fillmore.
Fillmore biographer Paul Finkelman. You wrote a book about Millard Fillmore.
Yes.
Why?
Lincoln was taken, Jefferson was taken, Fillmore was available.
Where would you like to see Millard Fillmore ranked among presidents?
He's now 7th or 8th from the bottom, and I hope my book puts him back where he belongs in the bottom 5. He's bigoted against Catholics, he's bigoted against Jews, he hates blacks. During the Civil War, he basically supports the Confederacy by the end of the war.
But Fillmore did lower the price of the postage stamp.
He did lower the price of the postage stamp. Mazel tov.
Okay, he was a terrible president, but it turns out a not-so-bad city father, which Buffalonians commemorate every year on Millard Fillmore's birthday.
As you're aware, he served UB as its chancellor for nearly 30 years.
University at Buffalo professor Claude Welch delivered this year's Millard Fillmore address.
He was involved with the creation of the Buffalo Fine Arts Academy, which we know up there as the Albright Knox.
How do Buffalonians feel about Millard Fillmore?
Actually, we feel a sense of pride.
Although
He's going to be a person that, unless politics change very dramatically, isn't going to rise much in terms of presidential standings.
Do you feel a little bit guilty saying that right here?
Millard, do you mind?
But over in East Aurora, the whole town, it seems, turns out for Millard Fillmore's birthday party. even Millard himself.
Now, I see you have some wine here. You know that I was a teetotaler.
And this year, a surprise guest. Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius, who bears a striking resemblance to town historian Rob Goller.
And she came to basically do some damage control on the healthcare.gov website. But don't sign up now. You won't get very far. But we appreciate your patience.
This kind of a thing doesn't happen at Mount Vernon or Monticello.
Oh no, oh no. Everybody!
In Buffalo, they put it all into perspective. Millard Fillmore may not have been a great president, or even a good president, and he does have a funny name, but he's their president, and that's something to embrace. Sort of. Is it fair to say Millard Fillmore is a pride of Buffalo?
I'm not sure we would say he's as much of a pride as our chicken wings or beef on weck.
All right, okay, well now, all right, so he goes chicken wings, beef on weck, Millard Fillmore.
Okay.